micrófono a Raimundo Alvarado, que es el inspector.
Bueno, yo soy Raimundo Alvarado, buenos días. Entonces, estábamos hablando de una compra de una casa, una inversión, mucho dinero, muy costosa, y tenemos que tomar los pasos necesarios para que no hayan problemas en esa transacción. Especialmente con una casa que tiene muchos componentes y en esa parte es que el inspector te va a ayudar a mirar lo que tiene la casa por dentro. El aire acondicionado, el techo, la plomería, la electricidad, las cosas que son sumamente costosas, que son miles y miles de dólares para hacer reparaciones. En ese proceso, el inspector trabaja en conjunto con el realtor en un equipo, es un equipo de trabajo. Entonces el inspector hace una inspección que a ustedes le va a beneficiar. Te va a beneficiar en muchísimas cosas. Primero te va a decir cuántos años de vida tiene el techo, cuántos años de vida le quedan al aire acondicionado, si sirve o no sirve, la electricidad, bien importante, si está actualizada con los códigos de la ciudad de Orlando, si no. Todas esas cosas son muy, muy, muy importantes porque eso te va a llevar a que compre una casa de calidad y que no tengas que hacer unos gastos después que la compra. Que no tenga termitas, que no tenga muchísimas cosas. El inspector lo que va a hacer es inspeccionar cada uno de los componentes para así producir un reporte. El realtor va a trabajar eso con el vendedor, porque el vendedor no puede, ¿cómo te dice?, esconder cosas que él puede mentir o puede decir algo que no sabe lo que esté bien o no. Entonces ahí es que el inspector, a través del reporte y el realtor, busca el beneficio para tu casa. Así que tengas una buena inversión y si 10 años, 20 años después decides comprarte otra casa, la puedas vender y no pierdes dinero. Entonces con esa parte pues se lo dejo a TJ. Gracias por su tiempo.
Good morning, everybody. I don't speak Spanish, so I'm going to speak English.
Yo voy a transferir, al menos que ustedes hablan, o sea, ellos...
Let me grab
You're
a
fine,
wipe.
you're fine, TJ.
Okay,
They
let me grab a
understand.
wipe real quick, because I forgot I got to wipe it real quick. All right, cool. All right, I'm TJ. Hi, everyone. And basically what I do is I do sales and marketing coaching for the last year, and I've been in the sales and marketing space for the last 3 to 4 years, but had actual success in the last year. And something God has recently put in my heart is to teach Christians, because I think it's something that definitely we lack as a culture of Christians, is financial literacy. And I think it's something that's super important for us to, break the strongholds that the enemy has put against us financially, and for us to actually thrive as Christians and live in abundance like the Bible wants us to. We actually need to be financially literate and be able to break those strongholds. So something God's put in my heart from the coaching is that, a lot of people that try to get into my coaching and stuff like that can't afford the coaching, so we tried to get them funding before in the past, but they don't even have the adequate amount of credit to get the funding. So that's why God's put it in my heart to teach people how to restore their credit, but more importantly, learn the financial literacy aspect so that they don't get in the same situation that they got into the beginning, okay? So what you're going to hear today, not a lot of people share it because in the last 3 years I spent $52,000 on education, and some of it was marketing, some of it was credit masterminds and stuff like that. So definitely unique information you're going to hear today. This is not generalized information. This is not stuff you can Google. This is not that type of stuff. So basically the name of my presentation is Hidden Finance Loopholes, and basically teaching you how to use the law in your favor, because there's actually laws that you can use to get things removed that are negative on your credit report and establish good credit so that you can get the funding to start a business that you want, get the auto loan that you want, so get the car you want, or get the house that you want. So go back to the next slide. So basically, the next slide is the name of my presentation, and it's how to restore your credit with these simple, fast fixes without ever having to pay any debt. So a lot of you have heard Dave Ramsey before, right? How many of us as Christians have heard Dave Ramsey? And you always heard credit is bad, credit is something that you don't want, you want to cut up all your credit cards and stuff like that. But that's actually, in my opinion, a plot from the enemy to deceive Christians, because the wealthy actually utilize credit and leverage credit for their own purposes and to create cash flow, where there is a difference between good debt and bad debt. So bad debt is like consumer spending credit cards on like frivolous things like luxury items or like clothes or going out to eat, right? Those are not assets, those are liabilities. So the rich use credit to leverage assets to work in their favor. So, but the first part of that is restoring your credit. So that's what we're going to be going over today. So if we go to the next slide. So the stuff, like I said, that I'm going to share with you is super powerful. And if you don't have a good heart, and that's why I'm teaching this to Christians, because I already know that we're in a good place. But if you don't have a good heart, you could use this to do bad things. You know what I mean? Like you can erase $50,000 worth of debt and then go get yourself in more debt and then erase another $50,000, and you could just keep doing that. But as Christians, we know that we have a moral compass, you know, and that's the Holy Spirit. And I believe that we can utilize this to restore ourselves in a financial place. But, you know, going forward, we're not going to make the same mistakes. That's why the financial literacy aspect is so important. So promise me that you guys aren't going to use this for evil. So, all right, we're all Christians here. So we're going to go to the next slide. All right, and this is a disclaimer. This training that I'm going to go over is for self-driven people. This is for people that are ready to take control of their finances, people that are ready to take control of their credit, and people that actually want to develop high-income skills. Because it's not just taking control of your credit that's important, it's also developing the skills that can produce cash flow, just like the wealthy do. You know what I mean? And this is not for people that are scared to live not in abundance. So if you're ready to live in abundance, that's getting your finances in check is one of the aspects that you need to do. So we go to the next slide. All right, and these are some of the results that I've gotten for people. Deleting things off their credit reports, getting their credit scores to, you know, actual places where they can actually finance their dream car, finance their house, get money to scale a business, start a business. And we can go to the next slide. Okay, so basically this is basically who I am. I'm TJ. If you go click one more. So I'm a business economics student at UCF, and then in 2016 my mom passed away from ALS, and it kind of forced me to drop out. But I still was heavily involved in like finance and stuff like that. I've always been like a real finance nerd, and like over the last couple of years, like I told you, I spent $52,000 on education of my life savings. And it's allowed me to erase hundreds of negative remarks off of people's reports. It's allowed me to leverage my credit for free travel, free hotel stays, free car rentals, free airline tickets, upgrades in hotels, upgrades in business class in different airlines and stuff like that. And then it's also, credit has also helped me start multiple streams of income, like investments, like I invest in cryptocurrency, as well as starting my coaching business. So that's a little bit about me. And then the next slide. These are some of the results that I've had just from leveraging my credit. So I've turned credit into cash. I don't actually pay any utilities or anything like that. Everything is basically leveraged from my credit. So I don't pay any groceries or anything like that. All of that is just leverage from points from my credit. I've been able to upgrade my status at Marriott, get multiple stays at Marriott for free, upgraded room for free. I've been able to get cars for free from different car companies and stuff like that without paying a single dime, just paying taxes and stuff like that. So if we go to the next slide, so those are some of the things that credit has allowed me to do. You're gonna learn what is credit. And basically credit is the ability to borrow money or access any type of goods or services with the understanding that you'll pay it back later. Meaning that they give you credit because they know that, you know, you're making a commitment to pay it back later, which we all don't usually do, right? So if we go to the next slide, you need to understand what a credit report is. And basically it's like a report card. That's the way I like to tell people about it. And it basically tracks all the different factors of whether or not you are good at paying back the money that you're borrowing from these different places. And some of the things that you'll find on a credit report are like personal identifying information, different accounts that you've opened, like if you go open a Kohl's card, or if you go open a Victoria's Secrets card, or whatever, you know, like a Bank of America credit card, or an auto loan, or a mortgage, or a personal loan, any of those things that go on your credit. Actually, even public information like bankruptcies, all that kind of stuff, repossessions, all go on your credit report. So this is like it's basically a report whether or not you're worthy for people to give you money and trust you. So it's basically a trust factor. If we go to the next one. This is basically the Fico scoring model. How many of you guys have Credit Karma? Does anyone have Credit Karma on their phone? It's a free app. I encourage you guys to get it. It's 100% free. You can find it on Google Play Store. You can find it on the Apple iTunes Store. And basically what it is a free credit score, but that uses something else called the Vantage score. But when banks or auto lenders or anything like that pull your credit, they're actually pulling from this score right here, which is your FICO score. And this is what your FICO score is made up of. So as you can see, 35% of your FICO score is actually made from your payment history. So that's like one of the most important things of having on-time payments. So it's very important to make sure that you have on-time payments. Now 30% of it is the amount of money that you owe. So like those negative remarks, like if you had a hospital bill or something like that you never paid or anything, and it goes on your credit report, that's 30% of your score. This is how they make the score. This is how it's accumulated. So 30% of that is things that you didn't pay back. And then 10% of it is new credit lines. So anytime you get new credit or anything like that, that factors into that. And then 15% of your score is the amount of length. So these are all the things that account to make your credit file. That's what they call it. And then 10% is your credit mix. So whether you have bank cards, mortgages, personal loans, auto loans, because a lot of people think when they have good credit that they have really good credit, but then they'll go to apply for a mortgage or a house or something like, or a house or a car or something like that, and they only have credit cards. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're good at paying back personal loans or mortgages and stuff like that. So underwriters, which are the people that actually look at your credit score to see if they're willing to lend you the money, they look at those things. So if you don't have a diversified kind of credit portfolio, they won't approve you for certain loans. So just having a couple credit cards is actually not enough to get a credit score, a good credit score. And in fact, to get a perfect 850, you need over 10 credit cards, just 10 credit cards. And you think that's like a little excessive, but it's actually really not. I actually have 15 right now. So, and that's just personal. That's not including my business lines of credit, which is a whole different other story. So that's basically what the credit FICO scoring model is. So when you go to apply for a mortgage or an auto loan or personal loan or even a credit card at a bank, this is what they're looking at, and this is what's factoring into making that number that you see. And remember, it's different than Credit Karma, but Credit Karma gives you a good kind of like way to eye out your credit score so that you know, and it doesn't hurt your credit score like when you go pull it yourself multiple times. Well, you can pull it one time for free a year if you go to myannualcreditreport.com, and that gives you your FICO score. But if you want to check it on a reoccurring basis, Credit Karma is going to be the way to go. But that's your Vantage score on Credit Karma. But this is the actual score that they look at. So we go to the next slide. Does that make sense for everybody, or did that sound crazy? Okay, I just want to make sure. So how many of you guys have heard of these 3 bureaus? Have you guys all heard about these 3 bureaus? Well, these 3 bureaus basically run your entire life and you don't even know it. And how many of you think they're a government organization? Does anyone ever heard that they're a government organization or anything like that? Well, they're actually private entities, because a lot of people I talk to actually think that they're a part of the government or something like that. But they're actually private entities, and they have to abide by laws just like regular private companies have to. And what these companies feed off of is data. So if we go to the next slide. How many do you guys recognize this picture from anything? Like Mark Zuckerberg on trial last year or a couple years ago for the whole privacy data breach thing, where Facebook got in trouble with the government because they were profiting off of people's data. Well, it's the same thing with the credit bureaus. They profit off of your data and you don't even know it. So sometimes they actually will keep negative items on your credit and lean more in favor of keeping negative items on your credit because it actually is more data points that they make money off of. So if you go to the next slide. So yeah, the credit bureaus lean towards retaining incorrect information because they're able to make more money off of it. And it's super deceptive, but if you go to the next slide, they actually, 10% of all their revenue for all these credit bureaus actually come from like scaring you into not knowing what you're reading on your credit report and stuff like that, because they want to try to sell you on their ID protection programs. Like if you go to Experian.com, like, and you try to pull your credit, which is another way you could actually pull all 3 of your FICO scores, is Experian.com for free. But they'll try to sell you into their ID protection program. And the reason why is because 10% of all their revenue comes from it. So go to the next one, please. Which means they're banking off of your negative information. So they're making money off of the fact that you can't get a loan, you can't do this, and blah, blah, blah. So next slide. But have you guys ever heard of the FTC? FTC, Federal Trade Commission? They're the ones that are actually in charge. They're actually a government organization that's in charge of the credit bureaus, and they're the ones who monitor all these types of things. And the FTC has something called the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which I think was established in the 70s. And basically what the FCRA is, for short, is basically an act that gives us protection as consumers against the credit bureaus and against collection companies from using those negative items to harm us. And there's certain laws and loopholes that if you're knowledgeable about them, you can utilize them in your favor to establish financial freedom. So go to the next slide. So it says in the FCRA that if anything on a credit report, like anything, a derogatory remark or anything like that, like a hospital bill, a repossession, or anything like that has any inaccurate, incomplete, or unverifiable information, that it has to be removed by law. And they have actually a very stringent time period that they have to remove it by. So there's things that you can do to look at these reports to see if that there is any type of, like, it could be as simple as like they have the wrong spelling of your last name or something like that. And you know how like a lot of Spanish people have like 2 last names and stuff like that. So sometimes it could get confusing, you know what I mean? And if they just have one little letter that's misspelled, that qualifies for it to get removed. And also like if they have the wrong year of your birthday or anything like that, or for hospital bills, for example, if they have any information, the collection agency on why you were at the hospital or anything to do with your procedure or anything like that, even if it says like you had like, I don't know, like a hip transplant or something like that, that's actually a violation of HIPAA law, meaning that they have to remove it from your credit report as well. So there's little things like that that you have to know so that you could be more financially literate so that you can use credit in your favor. So go to the next slide. And actually, this is pretty wild. When I found this out, I was like pretty amazed myself. The FTC conducted a study in 2002 between 2014, and they found out that 40 million people across America had at least one error on their credit report. 40 million people. So I guarantee you that someone in this room right now probably has at least one error on their credit report that could be removed, that could take you from being in a bad position to being in a better position, right? So go to the next slide. And this is an example of like, I wanted to show like an example of like what having good credit could do for you and like how much money it actually could cost you having negative credit or even having mediocre credit. It makes a huge difference. So right here we have a chart. This is a 30-year fixed loan on a $250,000 for a mortgage. And these are the different FICO scores. And then right next to it is the APR. And that's basically the percentage that you would pay per year in interest. And then the monthly payment. And then the total interest paid over the time of 30 years for the loan. So if you go to the next slide. So if you look between here from a 620 to a 640, that's just a 20-point difference. And that's already $30,000 that you're saving yourself by just boosting your score by 20 points over 30 years. How many of you could use $30,000 over 30 years, right? Do you want to just give away $30,000 to a bank? You know what I mean? Like, you're basically just losing that money. You're never getting it back. You'll never see it again. You know what I mean? $30,000 could go to your kid's education. It could go to a couple vacations over, 30 years. You know what I mean? It could go to, whatever, a new car or anything like that. So that's like literally the importance of credit. Like just boosting your score by 20 points and sometimes removing some of these negative remarks and stuff like that will boost you up by 60 to 80 points. So that's just 20 points. So if you go to the next slide, if you have from the lowest part to the highest score, which is only like 100 and something points, that's $87,000 that you're paying extra in interest from having negative credit. And that's not even negative credit, because I know people that have below 620s. 620 is like, like starting to get in warm water of almost having decent credit. I know people that have like 520s. You know what I mean? And imagine what they're paying in interest and stuff like that. That's where you get the credit cards that are like 28%, 34% interest. And you're paying the minimum payment on it every month and not knowing that you're getting robbed, 28, 30 something percent interest. So that's just an example to like put it in perspective for you that, having good credit does make a difference. You know what I mean? It makes a difference in a lot of things. It could be the difference between paying $30,000 and $87,000 in interest, which is a lot of money, So if we go to the next slide. So an alarming number of these companies have broken the law, and they know it, but they're just honing in on the fact that you don't know your own rights. So, and like most Americans like have no idea how even to read a credit report, you know what I mean? Which is crazy. Because it's something that literally controls your whole life. You know what I mean? And you just don't know it. So we can take advantage of this if you go to the next slide. Because you probably have negative, like I said, 40 million Americans have at least one thing on their report, and that's just one thing. There's probably multiple things that you have on your report, and you don't even know it, and they're just sitting there waiting to be removed. So if you go to the next slide. So the way we do this is using strategic correspondence, and basically they're like letters, certified mail, and there's certain letters that you can send to verify the debts, because you have to get verification that this is even your debt, that this was even something that you even signed for in the beginning, and then challenging that. You know what I mean? Challenging the inaccuracies, challenging the incomplete information, and challenging the fact that, you know, there's certain information on there that may or may not be yours. You're not saying that it is or it isn't, but you're saying, like, do you have the evidence of that? Because by law, they have to respond in a certain amount of time, and if they don't, you can go to something called, well, you can go to the FTC, but you can also go to, the name is bouncing right off my head right now. But there's another website that you can go to that we use, that I have on my phone right now. But they're basically the head of these credit bureaus. They're like right below the FTC. And you can actually challenge if they don't respond in a certain amount of time. And they basically will go to the credit bureaus and force a removal. So I'll get you guys that name before I leave, because I have it on my phone, but I'm just not going to look for it right now. But so sending these letters could be literally like the difference between, like, you know what I mean, not getting home and getting a home, getting a car, not getting a car, getting a personal loan for someone that's sick, you know what I mean? Like, usually, like, I know a lot of people pull out personal loans when, like, a family member is ill or something like that, and they can't work, and they need money to keep, you know, rent paid, keep the mortgage paid, keep car payments paid, keep groceries on the table, even that, you know, and that could be the difference. Just a couple of letters, sending out a couple of letters of certified mail could be literally the difference between you getting approved and you getting disapproved. So if you go to the next slide. So this slide right here is like, because I know I probably give you like a lot of information, and I know probably a lot of you are like overwhelmed, and I could literally talk about this for days, honestly. So how many of you guys feel overwhelmed right now with like all the information that I'm giving you? But honestly, if you go to the next slide, I can't cover everything in the presentation, obviously, because I could literally sit here and talk for days, especially like when it comes to the travel hacking stuff, and then like the real in-depth removal process, because there's not just one letter, you know what I mean? There's different letters for every different situation. For medical bills, there's a different type of letter that you send. For verification of a debt, there's a different type of letter you send. For derogatory remarks, there's a different letter you send. For hard inquiries, to get hard inquiries removed, which affect your credit score too. Like anytime you go to pull out a credit card or something like that, you know, you get knocked down points because you get a hard inquiry. That affects your credit score too, and there's ways to get that removed off your credit too. There's all types of different letters for all types of different situations, whether something is a repossession, whether something is a foreclosure, whether you filed bankruptcy. There's all types of different letters. Identity fraud, if you're a victim of identity fraud, there's different letters for that. So I could spend all day talking about that. If you go to the next slide. But I'm gonna, like, the thing is, I'm gonna have to make an offer, because there's like I can't cover all this, honestly. Like, there's not enough time in the day and stuff like that to cover all this stuff. So I've already talked to the pastor, and something that I want to do is make you guys an offer. And something we already talked about was whoever wants to take a commitment into this program that I have going on, 20% of all the proceeds are going to go back to the church. Because I believe, like, for them letting me come here and speak this, and like letting me express, you know, financial literacy to you guys and stuff like that, I believe, like, when, you know, you're in good soil, that you plant back into it. So I definitely believe that, you know, anything that we get from this is going to be put back into the church, because I believe this is good soil. Because your pastor wouldn't be letting me do this if she didn't care about you, or if they didn't care about your financial, you know, independence and stuff like that. So what you're going to get today, if you do decide to invest with me, if you go to the next slide, is my financial independence playbook. So I'm financially independent, and basically what that means is that I haven't worked like a regular job in like since 2017, June 2017 to be exact. So financial independence is about leveraging credit. Well, first you have to restore your credit. Then you leverage your credit to create a scalable business. Because I know that honestly, like my passion is like provoking purpose in people, because I believe God put a purpose in all of us, and we have specific purposes. And I think that as Christians, we're very complacent and we're one-dimensional, but we're four-dimensional creatures. You know, we have our spiritual side. We might be very honed in because, you know, we have to be equally yoked in all areas, right? And our being, our spirituality, our connection with God, and our connection with our body, our connection with our health, because that determines a lot of your mindset. And then you have to be equally yoked in your relationships, your wife, your kids, your family, you know what I mean? And then also your wealth, because as a poor, broke Christian, you can't really make any impact. And that's why the church is like lacking so much, is because we always think in such a lack mindset. And it's something I'm incredibly passionate about, obviously, because I was raised in a very lack mindset and a very poor type mindset, very saving, very penny pinching type mindset. And it's taken a lot of false beliefs and a lot of the Holy Spirit working through me to break that, especially in the last year, especially during COVID. And it's something I'm incredibly passionate about, and I believe that we all have purpose, and I believe that we kind of like negate our purpose a lot because we listen to the devil a lot, and we listen to our own voice in the back of our head that tells us that we're not good enough, you know? And I just wanna help people with their purpose. That's literally what I wanna do. So if you go to the next one. Included in this, I'm going to give you my Cracking the Credit Code 101, and that's basically going to be an online training platform where I'm going to basically be walking you through the in-depth parts of how to analyze your credit report and even help other people do this. You know what I mean? Because I believe that, you know, it's like making disciples, right, for the church. You have to plant into other people for other things to grow. And I believe if you don't help other people, you're doing not just a disservice to yourself and a disservice to God and his kingdom, but you're doing a disservice to all the other people that you can help. And then all the other people that they can help, because it's a ripple effect, right? And then also you're going to get, if you click on the next one, my hidden travel hacking workshop. And that's basically where I go over like how once you restore your credit, how to utilize your credit and leverage it to get free travel, free hotel stays, free car rentals, all that kind of stuff, right? Also, if you click on the next one, I'm going to give you credit restoration, which by itself right there, I'm basically going to give you access to my credit restoration services, because this is not my main business. My main business is sales and marketing coaching. This is something that God's put in my heart for the Christian community, because I know we've gotten fed a lot of bad information by the Dave Ramseys of the world. And I believe that for us to walk in our purpose, we have to be financially literate and thinking in an abundant mindset. Because 90% of being financially independent is living in an abundant mindset. It's the mindset thing. And I used to think that was like all woo-woo and stuff like that, but that's really what it is. And so the credit restoration services is usually a $3,500 value, but I want to include it in this package because I know that it's kind of hard to do at first. And once I get you started back up, I want you to be in a place where you're financially literate, you understand about your credit, you understand how to get yourself out of debt, and that your credit is at a good place so that you can start making moves in your purpose. That's the whole point of this. So if you go to the next one. So the total value of all that, if I were to charge you regular price, because my coaching for marketing and sales is $5K for a package. And I mean, it's obvious I spent $52,000 on education, you know what I mean? That's the value of it, you know what I mean? So obviously I'm not gonna charge you guys $8,991. If you go to the next slide. But I had two choices when I was putting this together. If you go to the next slide. One was making this cheap as possible so that I could sell as many as possible, but it really wouldn't incentivize me to really stack on the value. And I also believe that when you pay attention, right? Because when you don't pay for something and you get free information, what happens? It goes in one ear and out the other. You know what I mean? So really putting that pressure and that commitment behind it causes people to take action. So if you go to the next one. The second option I had was requiring a little bit of a higher investment, but in exchange, I could devote more of my resources, more of my time, because like I said, this is not my only business, you know what I mean? So I have other things going, but I definitely have a passion for this, and I want to help people start getting on that journey. So if you go to the next slide. These are the people that it could work for. These are the people, if you go to the next one, people with bad credit, next. People with decent credit but struggle financially, paycheck to paycheck, never really knowing how they're gonna pay their bills all the time. Maybe they have decent credit, maybe they have a little car, maybe they have a little mortgage payment, maybe they're making everything all right, but you're still living in lack, you know what I mean? You're still living in like, oh, what if I don't have, you know what I mean? And that's not what God called us for, you know what I mean? We're not supposed to be anxious of the things ahead of us, you know what I mean? It says, be not anxious, you know? And people who want to start a business. So people that actually know their purpose or are finding their purpose and actually want to make that financial independence leap. Because I think that's really, if you look at the Bible, most major biblical figures, I would argue, are all businessmen. You know what I mean? Joseph was a carpenter, you know? Go to the next slide. This is Kathy Burke. This is something I did with her credit. She was at a 553, and about 60 days later, we were at a 719. So that's the kind of stuff we do. And if you go to the next slide. As a bonus, I'm going to give you guys my credit to cash secrets method. And this is only available for the first 2 people that actually take action, because I want to actually reward the people that actually take action and actually commit to their financial future and their financial success. And basically what this is basically the methods how I turn my credit lines, like $50,000, and how you could turn it into cash so that you could go and buy a fixer-upper and flip it and make money off of it. Or you can go start the business that you want to and pull the money out of your credit lines without ever getting charged interest or high fees or anything like that. And it's not like how you traditionally think about it, like using your credit card to go get a cash advance or anything like that. You can actually turn credit lines and leverage banks' money to actually create like cold hard cash, like make actual money from it. That's how I pay most of my bills. Even most of my rent is paid from my credit cards and stuff like that, just from utilizing the points. And I never pay for the points. That's the crazy thing. So it's literally free money. I'm just literally taking the bank's money and pulling out cash. And there's a way to do that. So that's going to be a bonus for the first 2 people that take action. If you go to the next slide. So what you're going to get in total is, next, you're going to get my Financial Independence Playbook, which is basically how you can switch from the lack mindset to an abundant mindset, and how you actually can create financial independence in your life and start provoking purpose in your life. The Cracking the Credit Code 101, which is going to be like an in-depth training on all credit restoration and everything we do with credit reports and how you can help other people do the same thing. And then you're also going to get my hidden travel hacking workshop, which is going to teach you how to get those status matches so that you can leverage your credit to get free hotel travel, free car rentals, free airline tickets, all that kind of stuff. And then also you're going to get my credit restoration, which right there alone, if you go to a credit restoration place right now, they're going to charge you about $1,000, $1,500, $2,500. And beware, because a lot of these credit places are scams, and they'll charge you a monthly retainer fee. And why they do that is because they can take slower to fix your credit. And then the longer they take to fix your credit, they make more money. So they'll fix one thing off your report the first month, and then you'll be paying 4 or 5 months, and then maybe 5 months down the road, they'll fix another thing to keep you going. So that's why I don't believe in that. So that's a $3,500 value. So we're going to look at the most crucial parts of your credit and the most negative parts, and we're going to make an advantageous type of strategic plan to get your credit as high as possible in the quickest amount of time. So that's what that is. And then also you're going to get, if you click again, the bonus, the credit to cash secrets method. And all of the training that is going to be videos, other than the actual done-for-you service, which is the credit restoration, where I'm going to have my team, because I have a whole bunch of virtual assistants that help me with this, are going to handle your credit. We're going to look at your report and all that kind of stuff. Are virtual trainings that you'll have lifetime access to. So it's going to be on like an online platform, and you'll be able to just log in there at any time and then just do the training at your own pace. So you're going to get all of that, and if you go to the next slide, the total value of that would be $10,988. And I know that sounds like a lot of money, and that sounds like crazy, especially to a lot of people, because that used to sound crazy to me, because I used to be a YouTuber type person, trying to search for all the free information on YouTube and never taking action type stuff. But like I said, I believe when you pay attention, and I believe there is a lot of value in that. And but let me ask you a question. If it was $10,988 and it saved you $30,000 on your mortgage, or it saved you, you know, another a vacation that you could take with your family, you know what I mean? You saved money, or you were able to create cash to get your dream car, or you were able to take care of someone that's a loved one that's sick and be able to pull out a loan, or you're able to go into a bank not in shame, not embarrassed that you have a low credit score and that you know that you might not get approved in that bank, but you could walk in there confidently and know that you will get approved for whatever credit line that you pull. You know what I mean? Would that be worth it, $10,000? You know what I mean? For the rest of your life of financial independence, to live in abundance, you know? So if you go to the next slide, you really have two options right now. You could, one, try to be me for the last 3 or 4.5 years, whatever it's been, 2017, since 2017, June 2017. That was me at first on the left. I wasn't a woman though, but that ain't this type of church. But you could struggle and go through the overwhelm of trying to figure this out all on your own, and really just go through the years of hurdles and trying to figure everything out. Or two, you could be the person on the right and take this leap of faith and actually go into this knowing that you will have success because God is on your side, and you do have a purpose, and your purpose is to live in abundance and not a lack. You know what I mean? Amen. Yeah. Next slide. So I know that a lot of people are risk adverse. I was definitely a risk adverse person. So I do have this money back. Well, it's better than a money back guarantee, because if you sign up today, and you don't like the program, you feel like you didn't get any results from it, I'm going to take the hit and I'll give you your money back. But not only will I give you your money back, I'm going to let you keep all the trainings. So I'll let you keep all the trainings, I'll give you your money back, the church will still get their 20%, and that's it, you know? So that's my guarantee to you for taking a leap of faith and making a commitment today. So if you go to the next slide. So to get started today for the hidden finance loopholes, it's only $9.97. So that's basically it. So if you're interested in that, Jasmine has a clipboard back there. We'll get your information and we'll get you started. And within the next week, we'll go ahead and we'll analyze your credit. We'll get everything rolling. And within the next 30 days, we could change your credit and your financial future. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Hermanos, Dios me los bendiga. Les quiero dar las gracias a los hermanos que estuvieron aquí compartiendo, que vinieron a coger la información. Queremos agradecerle a TJ. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Raimundo, su esposa, su hija, gracias por sacar este tiempo y venir aquí a darnos esta información tremenda. Y de verdad, gracias a toda la visita que está aquí, toda la iglesia. No, y así mismo queremos aprovechar. Estamos aquí mañana a las 11 de la mañana en nuestro servicio TDR Ministries. So, estamos aquí para servir a la comunidad. Entendemos que somos una iglesia que Dios nos ha plantado aquí para servir. Así que gracias a toditos por haber estado aquí y gracias a ustedes por habernos traído tremenda información. Dios me los bendiga.